Hello, everybody. My name is Michael.
This is Peter.
And today we're going to talk about Barnes & Noble.
Yes.
There is some big news happening around this company. They're going to be sold. And this is something that has been ongoing since, summer of last year, which is why the previous CEO was fired, because Barnes & Noble actually accused him of sabotaging the sale. And they formed a committee around November, and they were actively looking for people to sell the company to. They have 600 plus bookstores. A company based in New York called Elliott has committed to buying them. It's basically they're going to pay them X number of dollars a share. I believe it's about $6.51 per share, which comes to a little over 150 million or so. And that's pretty cheap considering that they're getting a whole lot of technology.
Yep.
They're getting everything. And so who's going to be running the show? Well, James Daunt is the CEO of Waterstones. Now, Elliott has purchased Waterstones last year or a few years ago, and James Daunt is the CEO of Waterstones, so he will be the simultaneous CEO of Waterstones, which is a major bookseller, and Barnes & Noble. So this is great news because Daunt has 28 years plus of book selling experience, whereas almost all of the CEOs of Barnes & Noble have no book selling experience. They came from Sears, they came from retail backgrounds, because first and foremost Barnes & Noble is a retail chain. But if you don't have people who love books in the higher echelons of management, other than the Barnes & Noble founder, which sits on the boards and is temporary CEO again of the company, this is great because you have someone with a tremendous amount of book experience that basically... Okay, so with Waterstones, they were on their last legs. Then Daunt came along and revitalized the entire store experience. He basically let the managers of the store set the stores up to cater to local flavors. So Barnes & Noble in South Central London is different from a Waterstones in Mayfair, which is a very bourgeois neighborhood. So they not only could appeal to local authors in those areas, but management can actually set up the stores the way that they want. Whereas Barnes & Noble stores, you know this, Peter, they're pretty homogenous. You go to a Barnes & Noble store in Florida, and it's the same as New York. It's the same in Chicago. Yep. It's the same in Washington State.
They're all the same. You walk in, the Reggie's either on the left or the right. There's always some sort of cafe or Starbucks attached inside with a seating area, and then you got the stacks, and you got the Nook zone. It's all the same.
Yeah, so hopefully management will have more freedom to set the stores up the way that they want. Now, with existing stores, this is a bit of a challenge, but considering Barnes & Noble's always, not renewing leases on existing stores, opening up a new store in another neighborhood or in the same state somewhere else in the near future, they do that. So Barnes & Noble is going to be sold. Not sure if this includes the Nook education aspect. I'm actually having an interview with the new CEO, James Daunt, this week. So this will be posted on YouTube as well as our website at goodereader.com. So these are all the types of questions we want to ask.
We need those answers.
Yeah,
so
major questions are what are the future of the Nook? Yeah. Because famously, Daunt had a maelstrom of quotes during the heyday when e-readers were really popular, 2011 to about 2013. Right. He famously took all the Kindles off the shelf because he thought that they were cannibalizing books. He said that no one was buying the Kindle. The Kindle's the dead product. Very media friendly quotes that he was doing. But how will this affect a chain that has been making e-readers for well over a decade?
Sure. Yeah.
And we know that the designs of Barnes & Noble Nook e-readers have changed over the years.
They've been messy. If you look at the Nook Glowlight Plus looks like the Nook Glowlight 3. Oh, it's right there. Yeah, that's right. But the Nook Glowlight Plus shares its name with the 2015 Nook Glowlight Plus, which was made out of what seemed to be kitchen tile material and a rose gold back metal plating. And then they had the Nook Glowlight, and that one had white bezel with this weird rubber grommet around that you could almost throw on the ground and it would bounce, and just none of their things looked the same. And then they made 11 tablets in their line of devices, so they were kind of all over the map. 5 of those being the Samsung merger thing that they did when they had Samsung devices with like 5 Nook apps that you could just uninstall.
And for a while Barnes & Noble was in a really sorry state with their Nook division. So instead of making their own tablets, they decided to just outsource the tablets to Samsung. But the problem with that relationship is that they had a firm commit to buy a certain number of Samsung tablets, but they only sold like 30% of it. So they actually had to pay Samsung the full amount on tablets that weren't even sold.
Which 70% of their stock of their merchandise.
So they constantly had to like put those on sale for like 60% off just to move inventory. But people really weren't buying because like the same Samsung devices that Barnes & Noble was selling, Samsung was selling them cheaper directly.
Yeah, and then why would you want your own that says like, why would you want a Nook version of it that says Nook, and then you open it up and there's like
Samsung branding? There wasn't Nook any branding anywhere on it other than Nook apps.
That was it, and there was one folder with like 5 apps, and they weren't hard installed. You could just uninstall them by long pressing, and you're left with a more expensive Samsung tablet.
Yeah,
and then they released the completely what in my opinion useless Nook tablet 2017 model that they're just tried to do their whole race to the bottom with the Amazon Fire. It was $49. They got rid of the N. They got rid of the little loop on the side corner. It had no flash
it's like a
on
black
the back.
slab.
That was just, it was embarrassing that all it was just like, Amazon Fire made this for whatever amount, $49. Here's ours for $49. It was absolutely lifeless, and it was just devoid of character.
Yeah, they just went to
put it
like a typical Chinese company and bought like a bunch of black slabs and preloaded their own Nook apps on it.
At least with the Nook HD and HD Plus, it was designed well. It was kind of like the Nook
unique.
Color, right? Yeah, and the Nook tablet. Those all had character. They had unique bezels and design features and proprietary plugs and stuff. And then they would just release this other one for $50, and it was just just completely out of left field.
Well, why did this happen?
Right.
Well, Barnes & Noble used to have an R&D center in Santa Clara, California. And this is where, in the heyday, Barnes & Noble Nook e-readers for the first few generations, like the first 3 or 4 different devices, along with the Nook HD, HD Plus, Nook Color, those products looked very distinctive because Barnes & Noble actually designed those themselves and then took those designs, the molds and everything, and put them to the manufacturing type of thing. And then Barnes & Noble, in a bid to save money because the Nook division was suffering a lack of sales for both their tablets and e-readers, so they shuttered the R&D center. They outsourced that all of the designs for e-readers just in electronics in Taiwan and for their tablets just to China. And this was after when they were the partnership with Samsung. So partnership with Samsung, Chinese tablets, closing the R&D center. They shuttered the Nook App Store, the Nook Video System. They retreated out of the UK because the UK was the only other market where they were selling e-readers. So they basically retreated, closed most of their apps for like Windows 10, the touch interfaces and stuff like that. So they basically closed a lot of stuff. Outsourced all future software development, so it wasn't done internally anymore. It was done through an Indian firm. So everything basically from the Nook point of view is just outsourced now. But an outsourced product for the Nook Glowlight 7.8 Plus, this was a truly excellent product. And if you're seeing this video, you probably have seen our review of this already. So you would have seen this like in action for a good 10 minutes plus. But suffice to say, it's their first non-6-inch e-reader, which on its own is very interesting.
They've never Barnes & Noble, they did the first edition had a little color screen at the bottom, and that was cool. And when it came out, we were like, wow, this is really cool. And and then the Nook tablet came out and the Nook Color, and then it was looking really good. And the Simple Touch came out, and they were the first guys to do Glowlight. Simple Touch with Glowlight.
Well, Sony was the first one to do it. 8 or 9 years
Oh, yeah,
prior,
yeah,
but
but
it was basically like the light was terrible. It was just
Yeah.
bright blue.
Right. I mean, there was also that company that even predated Amazon that was like the first e-reader. But in the last 10 years, when e-readers were what they are now, e-readers, Barnes & Noble basically did it first mainstream.
Yeah.
And they
pioneered like the
Yeah,
frontlit display,
that's right.
and then which everybody else has capitalized on.
That's
And
right,
same with
yeah.
the color temperature system. They were the first kind of company
Yeah.
to really do color temperature
That's
systems.
right.
And then Kobo sort of did it right around the same time, like
Yeah.
within about a month of the color changing Nook that came out.
The Nook Glowlight Plus.
Yeah, then
Yeah.
Kobo started doing their own candlelight system.
Yeah, that's right. And after a lot of misses, the Samsung stuff, the Nook Glowlight, the Glowlight Plus was kind of weirdly designed. They finally, out of a lot of misses, they have a hit. And this one, it looks good, it performs all right, and it's put together pretty well. And it's got a headphone jack.
It's
which is
getting a
actually
lot
nice.
of positive
Totally,
reviews.
yeah.
Like on all of the articles on our website that we've written about the Nook, it has like each one has like 100+ comments. Everyone's like gushing over it.
Yeah.
Some people are concerned over some of the tech involved in it, but we dispelled all of those concerns in our comprehensive review. Not a capacitive screen. It's
Right.
using an IR screen tech, NeoNode, Z-Force. So you'll kind of get a sense of all of that and more. But generally, like in closing up our Barnes & Noble discussion, James Daunt is moving from the UK to New York. Hopefully he brings in his own key executives that could help him maintain a proper vision, because Barnes & Noble's not had a proper vision. If you have a revolving door of CEOs, like think about what our blog would be if we had like 5 different editors over the course of like 6
if they were
years.
just dispendable.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, for this year we're just gonna write about tablets and not e-readers anymore. Oh, ebooks
Yeah.
is a thing.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about Amazon ebooks and do a newsletter just
Yeah.
on Amazon ebook sales.
All over the
Oh, that
place.
doesn't work. Okay, let's like let's just focus on podcasts for you. Yeah,
Yeah.
podcasts are a big
Yeah.
thing. Everybody loves podcasts.
Yeah, that would be
Everybody
messy.
loves podcasts.
No thanks.
Yeah, so it's like, this is what happens on a Barnes & Noble level, where it's like no direction.
Yeah.
Everyone just brings in all these executives. The CEO leaves. Those
just
executives
crap something
change. Some of them get fired, but others like stay. They have no experience in retail. They have no experience in tech. It's just like surrounding themselves with like glad-handed yes men.
With all the revolving door of CEOs, the fact that they're outsourcing everything to 3 different countries, they started making things here and making things there. They're a complete mess of the repertoire of how many devices they've had, and the Samsung thing, and the constant articles that you and your team have written about their net losses. It's a wonder how they're still in business.
They've lost billions.
It's a wonder how they're still in business. We hear all this, and us in the studio and the offices and stuff, and we're always just like, we're always talking about Barnes & Noble. Barnes & Noble, oh, Barnes & Noble was topical.
This
Barnes & Noble
quarter
got
they
this.
lost 30 million.
Yeah.
This quarter they lost 21 million.
And
it's
there's
like
still-
those losses over a year. I think they're down 1.6 billion
It's a lot
dollars
of
since
money.
Nook started going downhill.
Yeah, and they're still alive, and they're still popular. And Barnes & Noble started in 2009, and it's 2019. That's their 10 year.
Yeah.
And they made an e-reader, and it's good, and it's a wonder how they're still alive. It really is, and they're still one of the big 3. It boggles my mind.
Well,
It
I
does.
think partly that's due to publishers needing Barnes & Noble. Think
Right.
about this. If Barnes & Noble were to went bankrupt,
Yeah.
then all the publisher sales are basically coming from Amazon. And if you're in
Yeah.
Amazon, you're like, I want my books cheaper. I want to
okay.
buy I want to buy more, but I want to pay like 50% less.
Yeah.
Whereas like Barnes & Noble is almost like this like counterbalance force
Right,
to the
right.
dominance of Amazon in the book selling industry.
There you go, yeah.
So
That
the
can attribute a
the
lot to it.
publishing industry, especially in the United States, needs Barnes & Noble as just like
Amazon. Yeah.
like the law thing where they have like
What do you call that? The things,
the
yeah,
weights,
the mark.
the lady of justice or something.
There's a terminology.
Yeah.
for it. Leave it in the comments below, everyone.
Yeah, if
We
you
can't
hear
figure
the
it
name
out.
of it, I forget about it, but I know what it is.
Yeah.
And it's like the scales
right.
of justice, right?
Yeah.
But like Barnes & Noble, one side, Amazon on the other side. Barnes & Noble were to go, it's like all
Yeah,
Amazon.
that's true. Yeah.
And that's the last thing
That
the
in and
publishing
of
industry
itself,
needs.
yeah, right.
All right, guys. So you've heard us talk about the new Nook as well as the new CEO and Barnes & Noble being
Bam.
sold. Drop a comment below. Let us know what you think about all this type of stuff. And for GoodReader.com, my name is Michael.
This is Peter.
Everybody take care.